Hello, everyone. This is Jeanette Shaliga with VGA, and we are here celebrating our fifth birthday with Marian Burk Wood. Thank you so much, Marian, for being here. And Marian's going to be presenting top tips for family history and cousin bait on Find a Grave. Marian, thank you so much. Go for it.
Good to be back with you. And I love Find a Grave. I use it every single day for genealogy and for cousin bait. And I'm going to show you my top tips for doing it. Now, I know that most, if not all of you, are familiar with Find a Grave, but maybe there's a couple little new wrinkles that I can share. For those who are not right up to date on the stats, as of just a couple weeks ago, Find a Grave said they had 226 million memorial pages all around the world. In order to use some of the features that I'm going to show you, you do have to register, but it's free. And remember, anything you see on Find a Grave, including a photo of a gravestone that's carved in stone, don't take anything as fact. They're all clues, and you do have to check things out on your own. Just a quick little survey of what you'll see on Find a Grave. As I said, there are genealogical clues, meaning there's birth, death, places people were born or died, places where they're buried, cemetery information. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll find not just photos of gravestones, but photos of those ancestors. And if you're really lucky, you will find biographies. So this is just a quick all around the world sample of some of the wonderful places that I've been using Find a Grave to learn about ancestors. Here's the home page. If you haven't registered, you click the register button, you sign in for free, and then anytime you're going to actually use Find a Grave, go ahead and sign in or stay signed in. As you know, there are a lot of different search options on Find a Grave. I wanted to remind you of some of the ones that I've used that have helped in some tricky situations. I put in a basic thing here where my husband's ancestor, Albert, was the given name, Slatter is the surname, and I knew he lived in Canada. But I could go ahead and look for some more things. If I knew more specifically, I could put in some other part of Canada, either a city or a town. If I didn't know if Slatter was S-L-A-T-T-E-R, I could try different kinds of searches, including the question mark and the asterisk for, just seeing what comes up. These are wildcard searches that can help you sometimes because, as you know, sometimes names are not shown right or transcribed correctly. So keep those in mind. And one of the other things that I like about Find a Grave is a lot of folks like you and me link our ancestors on Find a Grave so that spouses are linked. I'll show you that in a moment. You can now search by adding a spouse's name, a parent's name, a child's name, or a sibling's name. That might help you find somebody you couldn't find in another way, especially if you're looking for a very frequent common surname, Slatter, Wood, Smith, Jones. So keep that in mind as another search strategy. Let's go through the different parts of a memorial page because we've seen them, but maybe we didn't actually take a really close look. Up at the top, number 1, this whole area at the top will give you the name, locations of birth and death, locations of burial, a photo, maybe if somebody took it, and a source. Location 2 here, this part of the memorial page allows you to share with a link, and I'll show you in a moment. You can save, and mostly I use that to save to Ancestry, but you can save to a virtual cemetery. You can also click to suggest changes. Maybe Albert William Slatter doesn't have a birthplace, but I know it from my research. I can click and do that. Place number 3 on this page here is what they call the biography area. Some users have put in census data because they don't know these people personally, but they want to do a little research to help other users. So they might say Albert William Slatter, 1911 Canadian census was here, there, or everywhere. Or they might say son of so-and-so, because perhaps not both parents are already on Find a Grave. Position 4 on the memorial page here, this is where you'll see the relationship links. All folks who register can go ahead and start linking, whether it's parents to children, whether it's siblings to each other, spouses, and so forth. This is so helpful for genealogical purposes. And in fact, using some of these links, I was able to find out more about the spouse of one of my actual ancestors who had been linked, and I didn't know that person's maiden name until I looked at Find a Grave, saw what that person's maiden name was supposed to be, maybe, and I double-checked and discovered it was correct, and then added it to my tree. Wonderful clues. Position 5 is toward the bottom, not at the very bottom, toward the bottom. You may see a flag or a flower. Now, sometimes you just see the picture, but sometimes you see words. This one says, honoring my ancestor's service and his memory, left by W. Wood, my husband. So these are clues, because you may find that there's some relationship mentioned. Position 6 on this page, up here. If you want to see if there are more people who might be related to this person, you can use the click on the Woodland Cemetery, which is the particular cemetery we're in right now. You could look in that town, you can look in that county, and it goes on from very targeted to much broader, including all of Canada and all of Find a Grave. So these are very good tools to use for continued research for clues. Now, number 7 is way back at the top. Don't forget to look at the source. This source is not the photo. This source is who currently manages or originated this Find a Grave memorial. Bonus, in the last couple of months, since roughly the beginning of this year, something new showed up. As you know, Find a Grave is owned by Ancestry, which also owns Fold 3. So more and more Find a Grave memorials, like my husband's ancestor, Private Train C. McClure, have something at the bottom, way at the bottom, below the flowers and flags. It's so far at the bottom I couldn't show you, but if you could see way down, you would see this link. Other records, Fold 3 memorial page. If you click, it's free, and it takes you to Fold 3, where there is a memorial page waiting about this particular gentleman, Private McClure. This is important because Fold 3 will show different sources on that memorial page that Fold 3 has, in an automated fashion, added to that memorial page. And if you're lucky, folks like me may have enhanced some of these memorial pages, as I'm wont to do, with photos of people or additional facts or links. So look for anybody who's a veteran, man or woman, look at the bottom of their Find a Grave page to see if this has shown up yet. And it's free to look at a memorial page. You do not have to sign in, do not have to subscribe. It's free, just like Find a Grave. Research on Fold 3 costs money, but not looking at memorial pages. Okay, here's what it would look like. When I click through Private Train C. McClure's Fold 3 little link, this is what I got on Fold 3. Here you can see that Fold 3 content owns this, but anyone can contribute and add information. And what Fold 3 did was it gave you a starting point. If you haven't already done much on Train C. McClure, take a look at this. The source of a birth date is one FGV document. That is the Fold 3 abbreviation for Find a Grave, FGV. So they have the birth date and the place, and they sourced that from Find a Grave. So for us as genealogists, that's a clue until we confirm it, but it's a great starting point. It also tells you what conflict this person served in. Here it's the Civil War on the Union side, branch, unit, discharge, and so forth. This is a lot of information that will not necessarily be on a Find a Grave page. But if you're lucky enough to have an ancestor who has that link at the bottom, check it. It's free. Did I mention it's free? Okay, going back to Albert William Slatter, another of my husband's ancestors, I want to take a closer look at the top of the page. Look at the photo if there is one. Check if this information is the same as what is written here. Sometimes it's been transcribed wrong, or sometimes the stone is wrong. So you want to take a look. You also want to see who added that photo. Many times it's not a relative. Many times it's just someone who visited a cemetery, but you won't know until you take a look. Photo added by Jan. Jan is underlined, which means it's clickable. So click and take a look. Don't forget to look at the source of this particular page. There may be cousin bait there too, because it may be that an ancestor's descendant or some cousin created this page. You won't know till you click to view the source, and I'll show you more in a moment. Look at this bio. Now, as it happens, I wrote this bio, but not every bio was written by me and all of Find a Grave. Take a look. There are some wonderful bios. Some are brief. They just say married so-and-so, or sometimes they just say served in World War I, this and that. Take a look and see what is there. No matter who wrote it, you still want to confirm what's there, but it's a great starting point because you will often find names, dates, places that you can then plug into your genealogy search engines and platforms and look. And remember again, maybe there are other Slatters in this same woodland cemetery or in London, Ontario. So use that as another way to search, and that's free. Now, a couple of hints here. When you look at the linked people, do look at them and see not only what their names are, but what else it says, because sometimes the dates are different than what you know, and sometimes the relationships. Maybe somebody says that so-and-so is a half-sister or half-brother, and they show another parent that we didn't know about because we weren't aware that there had been an earlier relationship. This is a great way to find out if you don't know. And over here, as I said to you, toward the very bottom, look for a flag. This is the Canadian flag, or look for a flower. Who left it? This is clickable. W. Wood is clickable. And you could, in fact, see who left it, because how many folks would leave something saying, honoring my ancestors' service? A lot of folks just leave a flag and say, thank you for your service. That's a little different. And what we left here is a clue for cousin bait. I told you the source of every Find a Grave memorial is clickable. And here it says that I created this page for Albert William Slatter in 2015. So it's blue. The name is blue. It's clickable. Take a look. If you are on Find a Grave already, you should use your profile page, that's what this is called, as cousin bait. I took about 5 minutes and listed a lot of major surnames and places that I'm researching. So if you were to click through to the source and you saw me, you would be able to learn more about who I'm researching. Also, take a look at this area. For example, it says I had at this time added 64 flowers. I almost never add just random flowers. I usually add flowers on ancestors, which is not what everybody does. But you could, in fact, click on anybody's profile, click and see what flowers they've added and to whom and what it says, because they may have written something saying, "Miss you, great grandpa." It's worth taking a look. Also, if you have a virtual cemetery, they will be listed here if they're public. You can click through and take a look. So, for example, here's a flower I left on my great-granduncle, and I said he's my great-granduncle. If somebody wanted to get in touch with me because they wanted to learn more about this gentleman, they know who I am. They can click through. This is a little trick. It takes you 1 second. And here's a list of my virtual cemeteries. I made all of them public. I also listed a description so you can read who they are. Perhaps that will give you a clue that you are not related to my ancestors, or maybe there's a clue that you are related. You can click and look at these if they're public. As you see here, if they were private, they would be locked down and not visible. But mine are not private. Mine are public because I want cousin bait. What if you found an ancestor memorial? You can, using the Save section right here, remember on the memorial page, Save To. You can click and save to your ancestry tree if you have one. It's 1 click. You can click and create or save to a virtual cemetery. I do that because it's a shortcut if I want to go back and look at a certain tree, people who are on a certain tree. I can go to one of those cemeteries. I can also post a link to any of my virtual cemeteries on WikiTree or some other tree. So here's the WikiTree biography of somebody in my family tree who died young. And I put up a Find a Grave memorial link. So anybody who wants to know more about him and his family can also look there. A virtual cemetery, your choice whether it's public or private. To create it, you would click here. And if it's public, everybody can see it. Some people group them, as I do, by surnames or families. I've also seen a very clever way of doing it by military ancestors. Let's say that you are my husband and you've got 23 Civil War ancestors. You can, in fact, create a virtual cemetery just showing them. Again, it's a shortcut for me, but it's also cousin bait for somebody else. Or maybe you just want to group all your Ohio ancestors. You know what's great about virtual cemeteries? You can send a link to your relatives to say, look, here's where all the Ohio ancestors are buried. Okay, you found an ancestor memorial. For cousin bait purposes, go ahead and leave a flower or a flag, your choice. If you want, but it's not necessary, you can say, honoring my great-grandfather as a cousin bait clue. Wrapping it up, remember that Find a Grave makes it easy for you to learn about all these features. There's a whole help screen. You'll find the help section at the bottom of the pages and commonly asked questions and so forth. You want to do this on your phone? You can either have an iOS or an Android app right on your phone. It's especially handy if you go to the cemetery. And then for the latest news and announcements, you would go to the news and announcements page. Last couple of things, please, if you decide to type in an obit of somebody, don't list living people, protect their privacy. Remember, Find a Grave doesn't always remember to send you an email if somebody wants to message you about somebody. So check your profile page. That's where you'll see a message. Use all the tools of Find a Grave to look for and to get cousin bait. Put in a profile. It's free. And if somebody looks at your user page, they'll know who you are and they'll know who you're looking for. They'll see your virtual cemeteries. And remember, only starting in 2023, fold 3. free links at the bottom of any Find a Grave memorial page of a veteran. Soon they'll be across all, I hope. So thank you. I understand we really don't have time for questions.
Thank you so much.